go ahead and make that thumbnail while the stack is still tidy. Hello, it's Doris with All the Books, and I am here with my favorite nonfiction reads of 2018. I was going to film a Friday Reads today because it is indeed Friday, but my favorite nonfiction book of 2019 has not arrived yet. I listened to it on audio, and I have ordered a hard copy because it was so amazing. But it's coming tonight, like around 8, and you know, there's no winter lighting there. There's not much winter lighting now, but anyway. I decided that I'll go ahead and get started on my favorites, and these are amazing books. I'm not going to say much about them beyond the little subtitles because that would take way too long, but I will be good and list the titles and the authors below if any of them spark your interest and you want to learn more about them. And I will say that there's 11 of these, and probably most of them, probably at least 9 or 10, are suitable for readers who are just getting into nonfiction. So I will maybe mention which ones I think are most conducive to nonfiction newbies as I go along. So let's just dive right in. I probably don't need to say much about this one. Educated, a memoir by Westover. She is a brilliant writer. This is her first written work, and I'm hoping it's not her last. She ended up getting a PhD, I think, from Cambridge in history, and I would love for her to write some nonfiction books. I would love that so very much. This one's great for anybody. It just is a page turner. Also a page turner. We're in the memoir zone. I didn't mention before I started, these are also not in any ranking. I could not rank these. They're all great. I do have them in segue order, so we're in the memoir zone right now. The next one is I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. This one I listened to on audiobook, and it was great in that format. I actually listened to it in the car traveling back and forth from Florida, I believe. This is a little different spin on the memoir in that a lot of it is a nonfiction account of her research into the Golden State Killer. She was not a police officer or detective. She was just very engrossed in that pursuit on a recreational level, yes. And it's interspersed with her life story and how her thoughts as she was researching and how it made her feel. And she passed away before this was finished, so it was pieced together by some fellow couch sleuths, and yeah, great read. Okay, next up is also a little bit of a different take on the memoir, and that is We Were 8 Years in Power, An American Tragedy by Ta-Nehisi. This is a series of 8 essays written, one per year, over the 8 years of Obama's presidency, I believe in the New Yorker. And the author has taken those 8 and added introductions that are somewhat reflective in a memoir-esque fashion on where he was in life when he wrote them. And this book is intellectually sharp. It is razor sharp. Brilliant author. Okay, and then we have, veering into the essay zone, but these are also very much a memoir feel to them. We have a quickie here, Ursula K. Le Guin's No Time to Spare, Thinking About What Matters. This is a science fiction / fantasy writer who began an online blog in her 80s, and her insights and wit and thoughts are just so sharp, so sharp. I hope to be half so sharp in my 80s, and I really like what she thinks about on aging and writing and the environment and cats. Great book. These are all so good. Okay, and then we have The Forest Unseen, A Year's Watch in Nature by David George Haskell. This one was on the Pulitzer Prize finalist list, and deservedly so. It should have won, in my opinion. I don't know what it was up against, but I loved this. This guy just took a year of his life and a patch of land in the mountains, hill country of Tennessee, and just studied this little meter square and spun out thoughts from that. And his thoughts are so deep and beautiful and insightful, and I loved this book. Very nature focused, if that's your thing. Okay, and then more of that. Barbara Kingsolver's Small Wonder. This is an essay collection written over a series of years, some for magazines and whatnot, and I love the way she thinks. A lot of these are nature-oriented, environmental. That's a big focus of hers, but she also writes about social platforms and raising her children, and she is an insightful woman and a beautiful, beautiful writer, and she shows up again in my fiction top list from 2018, so stay tuned for that tomorrow. Okay, and then we're gonna move into the area that I discovered a profound love for this year, and that is what I am calling adventure nonfiction. I love narrative nonfiction, and especially with an adventurous bend to it. So my favorite of that genre, if you will, is The Dragon Behind the Glass, A True Story of Power, Obsession, and the World's Most Coveted Fish by Emily Voight. This is all about the arowana, the Asian arowana, and Hugo just exploring all different regions and cultures and peoples, and you learn about the science of the fish and economy and politics and oh, so much, so much. This is really a fun read. I loved it. And then another one that's a little more niche, but that was The American Plague, The Untold Story of Yellow Fever, the Epidemic That Shaped Our History by Molly Caldwell Crosby. This one is for all those medicine, health buff lovers out there. It's back in the 1800s, figuring out where diseases originate and how to treat them and fight them. And this one focuses on the yellow fever, which was prevalent in the southern U.S., where I'm from, and actually was instrumental in changing the course of politics in my hometown. So I was very interested in this, and it did not disappoint. I need to take it to my sister. She'll love it. She's a nurse. So there's that one. And then another great one that Heidi and Patrice and I read together, Isaac Storm, A Man, a Time, and the Deadliest Hurricane in History by Erik Larson. This is the author of The Devil in the White City, which I also read this year. I liked this one a little more. And we all loved this and are all committed to reading all of Erik Larson's work. He is really good at what he does. And this one is focused on a really bad hurricane in Houston in 1900. So very historical as well as scientific and social issues. Great. They're all so great. Sorry, it's my word today. And then I just have two more, and these are just delightful surprise. This next one, I didn't even think to pick it up. I just happened to see it for $1 at Goodwill and said, why not? And they have an interesting spin on racism, both of these. So we have Friday Night Lights, A Town, a Team, and a Dream by H.G. Bissinger. So this one is set in the 87-88 school year, which is the year I graduated from high school. I feel so nostalgic about this book. And it's set in the South. This one's in Texas, and I grew up in North Florida, which is also very southern. I remember my high school going to state, winning state when I was a freshman. So yeah, all the nostalgia, especially about the hair, oh my gosh. But the thing that really hit home to me, it is about football, American football, and small town feel. It wasn't a super small town, but you know what I mean. And Friday Night Lights, if you grew up in the South, football is king on Friday nights in every small town in the South. And this one focuses on Texas, where high school football is practically on a college level as far as interest and investment goes. It's very extreme. But the thing is, you see, this is a brilliant snapshot. The author went and lived in the town for a couple, 3 years and met the people and got to know them. And this is just an accounting of his time there, written in a very narrative fashion. It's a page turner for me. But you really get this snapshot of what racism looked like in the South in the 80s. It is just so much more than a book about football. So much more. And then last, but certainly not least, is the delightful Wrapped in Rainbows, The Life of Zora Neale Hurston by Valerie Boyd. Sean and I, of Sean the Book Maniac, we read this together just a couple months ago and both loved it. Zora Neale Hurston is just a shining light of joy. Wrapped in Rainbows is the perfect title for this book. I have just fell in love with her as a person reading this, and am really excited to learn more about the Harlem Renaissance from reading it. And obviously, you know, growing up when she did, through the 20s and 30s and 40s and on, she dealt with racism, but she has a really joyful outlook on life that just, I don't know, I loved it. I loved it. So yeah, those are my nonfiction reads. Really brilliant. And tomorrow is fiction, and there's some great ones in there too. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.